So, good morning. We'll see the second part, competition. So, before video, we are thorough with the term predations, all those beneficial and negative part of the predation. And second, we'll move on to the second interesting one, competitions. So, here competitions already we saw under a population interactions. Competitions both are not getting any benefit or loss. So here both species also it is not getting full benefit. So competition is an interaction among the individuals of a same species also. For example, if you are growing a paddy, if you are growing a rice, a competition between two species or between that is within the species also, and rice along with the wheat. So it is competition, it is of intra-specific and interspecific also. Competition between the individuals, okay, competitions between the individuals as same species for some resources that are limited. So automatically between the individuals of the same species means the resources are limited, only some amount of water only, organic rich soil will be limited, and automatically the resources will be limited. They won't get a 100% resources for their growth and development. So here the competition for sharing of all those natural resources. In some cases, resources need not be limiting factors for competition to occur. The feeding efficiency of one species might be reduced due to the interfering of the other species. Here, for example, one case. So here, so many cases will be competitions. First competitions will be to share the natural resources. Second, there won't be a competition for sharing nutritions, and it will be differentiating for its feeding efficiency of one species might be reduced due to the interfering of other species. Here I will give one example. In that example, you can able to understand this concept clearly. Here, a Abigdon tortoise in Galapagos Island. Okay, this is a tortoise. It is this tortoise will be huge in size. This tortoise will be huge, that is we'll call it as giant tortoise, and this tortoise is a herbivore, and this will be in island. Okay, if it is herbivores, it will eat only the plants, and it will extend. Why? It will extend within a decade after goats were introduced into the island. So people were introduced goats into the islands. After a decade, the extinction of Abigdon tortoise were exist. Why? Because both also herbivore. When other species was introduced, though the same level of resources will be, but and their feeding mechanisms will be different. The goat will continuously feed and it will very fast to get search for food, but it is not in the case of the Abigdon tortoise, because it is very huge. It is a giant tortoise, so it won't be that much fast like goat, though the natural resources are available, but their feeding mechanism, because of their feeding mechanisms, here the some of the animals will extinct, and that's the concept behind that. And it was due to the fact that the goats had greater browsing efficiency than the tortoise. That obviously we can able to guess what is the reasons will be. So that's thing about the competition. So competitions both also not getting any benefited. They should share their natural resources, first case. Second case, if natural resources are available, they are based on their feeding capacity. One will be growing in a faster one, or one organisms will be flourished and other organisms may be extinct out. One such example is Abigdon tortoise in Ireland, which was extincted because of the introduction of goat in the island area. And next we'll see the one more interesting case. Okay, here unrelated species. Now what we saw, that is also unrelated species only. There is no relationship between your Abigdon tortoise and also goat. That is also unrelated species, but these unrelated species, they share the common natural resources. So there is a competition between these two organisms. So one is left out from this environment, even one is sustaining or one is flourishing. And second example for unrelated species to compete for same resources. Here, this is a marine region. And here we can see one kind of a bird, that the bird will called as flamingo. Okay, and fish compete for zooplankton. So flamingo is a bird, fish is a marine organisms, it is a aquatic organisms. They will compete for one common natural resources like zooplankton, phytoplankton or blue green algae. And now why means, and this flamingo also will eat the zooplankton or blue green algae or phytoplankton, and the fish also will eat the same zooplankton or phytoplankton or blue green algae. So there is a competition between flamingo and the fish to share the natural resources like zooplankton, phytoplankton and the your blue green algae. And I'll show one structure of flamingo in the structure. This is the structure of flamingo. And normally this flamingo used to suck the water, and this water contains all zooplankton, phytoplankton, all those material. Only the material, the food alone will get into the body of the organisms, the water will again come out. So it has a filtering mechanism like that. So it used to suck water along with all the zooplankton, phytoplankton and blue-green algae. Only the food alone will get into the body, and the remaining water was filtered out from the body. So that's the principle behind the mechanism of feeding mechanisms of the flamingo. And normally it used to have all those things. It not only the blue-green algae, as well as it have insect. It will eat insect larvae. Okay, normally larvae will be in the water, and it used to have small insects and mollusk, crustaceans. And because it is a huge, compared to fish, it is a huge, so it used to have all those things to sustain its life, and making them in a omnivorous condition. And their pills means they are sucking areas are especially adapted to separate mud, silt from the food they eat, and also water. So it will leave all those water, leaves mud and silt, other things, and are uniquely used upside down. So this flamingo will help to maintain the it helps to have all those material which is present in the water. So it is the competitor for the fish. That will be interesting. So competition here, the competition between flamingo and the fish for the competition of the zooplankton. And here next one, competitive release. A species whose distribution is restricted to a small geographical area because of the presence of competitively superior species is called competitive release. Here you want to remember, if two species are distributed in a small area, and superior species will show one higher level authority, that will call it as a competitive release. These species is found to expand its distributional range dramatically when the competing species is experimentally removed. So they are they are doing some experiments to show this process. And here Gauss competitive exclusion principle. Okay, here it states, this is a rule, a principle state that two closely related species competing for same resources cannot exist together, and their competitively inferior will be eliminated by the superior. That we saw what is the case. Okay, the tortoise will be eliminated by the goat. So here we'll tell goat is the superior organisms, inferior is tortoise. So if two organisms are competing for the same resources, which is a dominant will be sustainable and will be survival, will be in the environment, other will be eliminated. Okay, that is only Gauss competition exclusion principle. And also Richo's partitioning. It is the mechanism meant for coexistence of species to face competition. That normally used to exist in the world, or this also will used to exist in the world. And they used to share the natural resources, and both also will exist in the world. That will call it as coexist. Okay, both also will exist. That will call it as coexist. According to this, if two species competed for the same resources, they could avoid competition by choosing different times for feeding and different foraging patterns. It will be very interesting. So first we saw competition. Second, in that we saw the tortoise and goat. And third, we saw some of the other part and some of the other examples, and this will be very interesting here. Resource partitioning means they'll share same resources but they will share in different time. For example, I'll show the example. Some of the birds, for some of the birds only one resource food is tree. So the whole day the birds won't be in the same tree. So some birds will be take their food on morning session, some birds in the afternoon, some birds will be in the evening. So they'll share the same natural source but they'll share the time. In this condition they can able to share their food. And here so here is the example. So here Magardar, it is a bird type, okay, showed that 5 closely related species of warblers living on the same tree were able to coexist. How they can able to coexist means avoid competitions by having behavioral difference in their foraging. Foraging means searching of food. So here hunting activity. So some birds will take in morning, some birds will take in afternoon, some birds will take in during night, evening time. So by this way, though the natural resources of food is the same, but they'll allot different time to get food. So it is a behavioral difference, competitions to get food from the same natural resources. And that's all about the competition. So now we know what is the definition for competition and how they'll share their food material. And if it is sharing, they'll have a one rule, okay, Gauss competitive exclusion principle. In that, one will be superior, another will be inferior, which is escaped from the environment. And the flamingo and fish competed for zooplankton. And also resource partitioning, and they'll have some different time. From that they'll have a partition to share their food. And this is the example was given. Next class we'll see the next part.